I asked you at the beginning of the year to join the story, and so many of you have, and it's been incredible. I asked you to join the story. It's a theme that we're in all year, and it's just you giving testimony of the goodness and faithfulness of God. And so many of you have sent them in, and they're just amazing. Amazing to read, amazing. They inspire us and increase our faith. But I wanted to share Tim and Kristi Bolden's today. Tim and Kristi joined the story. They sent a story, and it's pretty awesome. Kristi, you may know her. She works in our finance department. Wonderful people. Tim heads up many of our missions trips. I've been to Puerto Rico with Tim and Jolo and other places. But 20 years ago was a real turning point, particularly in Kristi's life and faith. She had grown up in church, like many of us have. And how many of you know if you've been in church all your life, one of the dangers of being in church all your life is you know how to do church, right? And those of you that have done that, you know exactly what I mean. You know how to put it on, you know how to smile when you don't really want to smile, and you know how to worship when you don't really want to worship, right? And I'm not speaking for anybody but myself because I've been there. Some of you have. Some of you may even be doing it today. But Kristi grew up in church. It was a colon cancer diagnosis nearly 20 years ago that became the turning point in her faith. This diagnosis, as you can imagine, caused her to slow down and kind of pause, and this is where she sensed the real peace and presence of God. You ever been in a situation where everything around you was chaotic and you just felt the peace of God? It's a beautiful thing. And in that season, she wanted to know God more. She wanted to know God on a personal level, to not just go through the motions, but she wanted to know God. And it began and started the catalyst in Tim and Kristi's life. Since that time, they've navigated raising two kids, two great kids. Now they're looking forward to a grandchild, Tristan and Cody. I had the privilege of marrying them a few years ago. Tristan runs our cafe. It's incredible what God's doing in their life. But Kristi had many moments that God used to confirm his faithfulness. And she tried in that moment and moving forward to keep God at the center of her life. And she says this, I love it. God's in all the details. We just don't often look close enough. How many would say that's been me, right? And so they built a wall in their home, and they frame examples of where they have seen God work in their life. And they call it their faithfulness wall. Isn't that the coolest thing you ever heard? You ever seen a wall of fame? I want a wall of faithfulness in my life, right? Like just hanging up and declaring the things of God. So they have a faithfulness wall in their life. Couple of examples, and these things may mean something different to you, but these were very much God moments in their life. One of them, you'll see a picture of two $1 bills that they framed. Kristi had prayed that God would give her a sign that he was going to take care of their family financially in a really difficult season. So she found two $1 bills. You framed it. Why? Because God's faithful. So if you ever need $2, you know where to go. You can bust those out of their house. But that was a marker in their life. The second was a photo of a tree house in their yard that was ruined by a falling tree. Here's the God thing. The insurance payment was exactly what they needed to cover a significant expense, something else in their life. How many of you know God just works in mysterious ways, right? But those moments, and there's many more, I don't have time for them, but those moments were moments where they laid a marker down because God was faithful in their life. And I promise you, you can talk to them. I know that they pull from those moments and those pictures and that faithfulness wall in times when they may not know what to do or they may not know how to pray. They look at that wall and say, but God has been faithful to us in the past. He won't be any different now. Tim and Kristi keep the faithfulness of God at the forefront of their heart and life. And just like she said, look for him, you'll find him. There's a story in everything. She starts her day with God's word and prayer. She said, have a teachable spirit, and she journals. And she journals for this reason. She said, if you don't enjoy writing, just regularly jot down a few notes about your life and what the Lord is doing. Then, what I've been telling you for the last 5 minutes, then you can go back and see the hand of God. I'm one that writes in journals. Sometimes I do it on paper, or sometimes I do it in my phone. And there have been plenty of times I've gone back and have just reread about the goodness and faithfulness of God in my life. And I've ended up every time saying, why would I fear? Why would I be dismayed? Why would I doubt? Look what God has done. And so if you want to finish well, if you don't know what to do with the second half of your life, keep doing what God's called you to do. And keep the faithfulness of God at the forefront of your heart and mind. And whether you build a faithfulness wall in your living room or your kitchen or your office, you can build one in your heart. You can build one that you can pull back on time after time. And you can remember. The psalmist tells us this over and over. Remember the goodness of God.